Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. It's Tuesday. Let's get on with it. Gary, how are you?
Not good.
No?
I never thought that I would live so long to see an American government abandon American hostages.
Yeah.
Forget about Israel. This isn't even about Israel.
No.
Right? This is about the White House and John Kirby. What a piece of crap. Seriously, what an embarrassment to the Navy.
Yeah, he is.
How can he go to sleep at night promoting and here's what he said yesterday about and by the way, if you wonder what we're talking about, the Biden administration abstained from the vote. The UN Security Council passed a resolution that demanded a ceasefire in Gaza, but did not make a ceasefire contingent on Hamas releasing its 134 hostages, including American hostages. And it came out right afterwards, after that Hamas is reportedly refusing to accept Israel's terms for a hostage deal and is digging in on its demands after the Biden administration refused to veto the United Nations Security Council resolution on Monday calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. It is so, there are things that, that we can laugh about and mock, but when the United States abandons American citizens, that's it. What a piece of crap these people are. I don't know what else. I mean, I could use stronger language, but I think I'm getting it across. Here's Kirby yesterday. I mean, talk about, good God. I mean, listen to this. Here we go.
The president makes decisions based on the national security interests of the United States. And this decision to abstain on this resolution is in keeping with the national security interests of the United States. And quite frankly, it's in keeping with the national security concerns of the Israeli people.
What a piece of crap. Seriously, what a piece of crap. He's no better than horse manure. And neither is Biden. For God's sakes, you don't abandon hostages.
You know, this is something that we talked about in the botched exit of Afghanistan. All of the people that were living there, including Americans that were living in Afghanistan, that they went on for months lying and lying and lying to them and then left them behind and left them in a danger zone. Now, abandoning hostages, they don't really give a damn about the American people. They have the power to close the southern border. We have countless people dying of overdoses of fentanyl. We have possible terrorists coming across the southern border. We have cartel members coming across the southern border. Of course, it was going to go this way when it came to hostages. There was no other direction. They weren't all of a sudden going to start caring about Americans.
Nope. I just never thought that I would live so long where an American president and a political party. There's not a Democrat upset about this that I know.
Nope.
Maybe Fetterman. I haven't seen Fetterman if he commented on it. But I haven't seen one Democrat say this is unacceptable. You've abandoned American hostages to Hamas.
It's unreal. It really is unreal. And once again, since October 7th, radicals and on the other side of the line, everybody else. This administration stands with the radicals.
Yep.
Officially.
Well, they're sorry. I know he was an admiral, but Kirby and Biden, all of them, as anti-American as you can possibly manage. What a piece of crap these people are.
Just a disgrace.
Seriously.
Just a disgrace.
I never thought I would live. I never thought I would be alive when an American government and a president, and then. Damn it, they're talking about like they're taking the high ground, like they're doing what's in the best interest of national security and shut the hell up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you're okay with abandoning hostages, I know you disagree with me. You're a piece of crap if you think that way. You don't abandon American hostages ever.
radicals,
you
all
don't,
the way to the top.
When we see what they went through, that they didn't communicate effectively to the soldiers, and I think it was on purpose, and 13 American soldiers got killed. They don't give a damn about American soldiers. They don't give a damn about American citizens.
Nope.
They don't care. What the hell do they care about? What in the hell do they... If you don't care about American soldiers or American hostages, then please tell me what the hell you care about.
Using the right pronouns and children being able to decide their own genital mutilation surgery. That's what they care about. That's their thing. Flying other flags at the White House, doing all of these things, making sure that everyone knows that all the different identities are represented with this administration.
Except American citizens and American soldiers.
That's not on their list of identities. And the 58-plus identities, remember those on Facebook?
Yep.
American citizen wasn't one of them.
Nope.
This is the left. This is how radical they are. They don't give a damn. They don't care at all.
I did not see one Democrat upset about this. I hope some come aboard and say this is unacceptable, what the administration is doing. I know the GOP went. They did, of course. But I mean, and understand this isn't even about Israel.
No, it's not.
It's not about Israel. It's about American citizens, and it's about abandoning American citizens and then claiming that they're doing it in the best interest of the United States. By the way, that to me is almost gaslighting.
Putting service members in harm's way by putting a port right there in Gaza that's going to give aid directly to Hamas. We're expediting the aid to Hamas. We're abandoning the hostages. It doesn't get more radical and un-American than that.
No, it doesn't.
Hey, how about 4 more years? God. I mean, unreal. It really is unreal. But again, we saw it on full display. You had all the service members that were killed in Afghanistan, Americans that were left behind after being lied to for months and months and months during the botched exit of Afghanistan. It is now a terrorism superstate. That's not even being disputed by anybody. And they don't care.
By the way,
they don't care about the Gold Star families. They don't care about the families of the hostages
they don't
held
care.
by Hamas. They don't give a damn about any of it. They don't care. They don't care.
And by the way, this is not in the best interest of the United States or Israel.
No, it is not.
What a piece of crap Kirby is for saying that. Seriously.
Unreal.
The Biden administration, just renounce your damn citizenship.
Right. Yeah, take the flag down at the White House if that's the way you're going to behave.
Right.
Because you don't represent America.
No, you don't.
Put up one of your other identity flags. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal.
Is there a crap flag they could put up?
I can make one. Give me a minute.
Yeah. I just had an idea there with what the flag would look like, but I'm not going to get into it because, it's not a time for humor when something like this happens.
There's no way you can justify any of these moves.
No, you can't.
And this has been the one thing that's been consistent about this president. He has worked time and time against Americans, flying people from other countries here. They're actually importing people, not just allowing them to walk across the southern border, but actually putting them on planes and flying them here. They don't care about Americans.
But when Kirby's up there saying this is in the best interest of the United States and the best interest of Israel, absolutely lying. White House spokesperson John Kirby said, reading from the Wall Street Journal editorial, which says Biden abstains on Israel and Hamas. The U.S. refuses to veto a United Nations Security Council resolution that the terror group welcomes. This is pro-Hamas.
Yes.
As we have said, the White House is pro-terrorism. We've said this for a long time. We told you this was going to happen, and we weren't wrong.
Nope, we weren't.
White House spokesperson John Kirby says nothing has changed about our policy, nothing. He explains that the U.S. abstained because the Security Council resisted a last-minute amendment condemning Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we're helpless.
Yeah.
We can't veto it.
We're just the little old U.S.
We're the United States, and we're completely helpless.
Yeah.
Yet the U.S. has previously vetoed resolutions that would not condemn Hamas for October 7th. The reaction to the resolution tells the story. Hamas welcomed it. Russia, China, and Algeria voted for it, while Israel called it a clear departure from the consistent U.S. position, adding it gives Hamas hope to the international pressure that will force Israel to accept a ceasefire without release of our hostages. Israel also canceled some high-level meetings. So this piece of crap, John Kirby, is out there saying, well, this is the best interest of the United States and Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Can't Democrats tell the truth on anything?
No.
Can any Democrat defend this? Well, I guess you can. He just did. He defended it by lying.
Right. Unless you believe the fall of the U.S. and the fall of Israel is in their best interest in your delusional mind somehow. You vote for Biden, by the way, you now vote for Hamas.
And then this
Full
piece,
stop.
Then this piece of crap statement, Biden officials pushed the line that the resolution is non-binding and Israel is overreacting.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Israel's overreacting.
Yeah, it's Israel's overreacting.
Yeah. How dare you react and try and defend yourself against a slaughter, which, by the way, will continue.
And we know the reports out there is Hamas has said, nope, not going to.
Right.
Not going to deal now with Israel.
Right, because we don't have to, because we've got the world on our side now.
And the United States administration are a bunch of cowards.
Right.
And they understand that the White House doesn't care about American soldiers. The White House does not. Joe Biden does not care about the lives of American soldiers. He doesn't care about the lives of American hostages. He doesn't give a damn.
When is Hamas leadership going to make their visit to the White House?
It should be any day now,
Should be
right?
any day
Yeah.
now. You know, a dinner with the media and everything else. Should be any day now. Plenty of photo ops. No questions, please. That wouldn't shock me at all. You've given them everything else. You've given them everything else. You should expect no less from a guy who says for months and months and months, the Taliban won't be taken over. The Taliban won't be taken over. The Taliban won't be taken over. 4 days after they took over, he sits down with Stephanopoulos and says, well, they were always going to take over.
Yeah. And we know the generals again, General Milley out there last week, Biden lied repeatedly to the American public about what the generals told him in Afghanistan.
Yep.
And so shouldn't be surprised by this.
Right.
You abandon American citizens.
Yep.
You abandon our allies that supported us. The Afghan allies that supported us.
Right.
Many of them didn't get out
Right.
and were slaughtered afterwards.
Right.
You lied to the American people about it. You abandon our allies, and here you're doing it again. I just, for the life of me, I have, by the way, Trump had the right message yesterday.
Mm.
He said, Israel, basically end this thing. And he didn't mean back off.
No.
He means you have the ability to end it. End it. Because now what they've done, now what this administration has done, you've given the Israelis no other choice but to end it and end it as quickly as possible.
They either do that or they'll be gone. That's their two choices here. There's no more negotiating, and Israel shouldn't negotiate with terrorists. There is no negotiation, and this administration has officially abandoned the hostages. I don't know what to do about that, but Israel doesn't have a choice.
Nope. That's, in my opinion, what the United States, what the Biden administration did.
Yep.
They said, okay, you've got no choice.
Right.
We're going to take the side. We're the United States of America. We're going to take the pro-Hamas, the pro-terrorist side of this.
Right. And dare you to do something about it, Israel.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Push them into a corner.
Yep.
While that entire region basically wants them gone, and the U.S. is like, yeah, we don't care about that. And we don't care about our own citizens when it comes to hostages. We don't care about our own citizens left behind in Afghanistan. We don't care about our service members that were killed in Afghanistan. We don't care about the countless fentanyl deaths. We don't care about in fact, we're going to other countries and putting people on planes and bringing them here by the hundreds of thousands. So, I'm sorry, what America?
Because we care about America, and we care about America's interests.
Right.
866-98-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It's not always easy to spring back from the harsh days of winter to warmer months ahead. From de-icing chemicals to hidden debris underneath snow and ice, winter conditions can do serious damage to your truck. Here's a must-do maintenance check to help you minimize downtime and stay rolling. Inspect your brake hoses, linings, and slack adjusters for any wear and tear. Listen for any air leaks that may have resulted from moisture freezing up in the system. Check slack adjusters for proper stroke and lubrication. And check your brake linings or pads to ensure proper thickness.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up fine in the bottom of the hour, we'll talk about Trump's fine drastically reduced, but still way too much. And I believe it'll still be cut down. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. You just wonder what happened. You know, what happened to Americans when they will abandon hostages? You know, when you're talking about an administration, what happened to these people? How can you be? How could that would get? If I served in the armed forces and what happened in Afghanistan, I would have resigned the administration like that. And when you see Kirby doing that,
the top general, you know, again, it was about halfway through, stepped down. Remember that, and clearly we know now why that happened. It was a red flag when it happened. But there was no talk about it.
What is it in an American citizen? Because there is no greater morality or immorality. The morality is you never leave anybody behind. You do whatever you can to get them out. And you play hardball on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest immorality, and that's why I know we got so passionate and get so furious about this. The biggest immorality is for an American president to abandon troops as they did in Afghanistan, to lie about what the generals told him, and then yesterday abandon American citizens. Say, basically, you don't matter.
You don't matter.
You don't matter. I don't know of a bigger immorality as an American citizen watching something like this.
Maybe if one of them was a WNBA player, maybe they would give it more attention.
Yep.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, Eric, I probably put out as much anger and frustration as I ever have for the first part of the show. And, you know, there's a ton of other topics out there that we want to get to, but there's just something inside of me, even though I've used up all my words, it is just so infuriating. And you probably understand this because you might be thinking the same way. I just don't want to let it go. What happened yesterday?
Well, it's impossible for me to let it go because it's the same attitude of people that say, "Well, I'm just going to leave the country if the guy I don't want gets elected. I'm just going to abandon my country." I can't do that. I can't imagine if my dad had become a POW or a hostage. He went to war twice. I can't imagine what the families are going through right now. And this is in the wake of the horrific atrocities that Hamas committed. And every day, the hostages and the families of those hostages are suffering, and this administration doesn't care. And
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
I can't just let that go. And you know, it really is hard for me. I came home from the Mid-America Truck Show, and I got home Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and anxious to hang out with my family and my wife, and I was really tired. And on Sunday, you know, Sunday's a work day for us. It's a show prep day, and so my wife had been running errands and stuff, you know, during the day, and normally that's the way it works. She goes and hangs out with the kids, and I'm at the house doing show prep, and she comes back, and I've got some errands to run. And, you know, just some brief errands. And she goes, "Well, I'll go with you." And I kind of wanted to tell her this may not be, you know, I was in this mood from doing show prep. And this is before all of this even happened. And there are days when my mind, I just sound like one of these rambling old guys. And I'm just going to have to sound that way, because this is not, my sentiment on this is not ever going to change. I'm never going to park this, compartmentalize it, and say that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't deserve my anger, that I need to get over it, because that's how things like this are allowed. And by the way, if you vote for Joe Biden, you vote for Hamas. Full stop. There is no other. That's it.
Yeah,
your vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Hamas, and there's no way around that with me. You don't get a pass on that with me. You don't.
You know, I'm glad we've talked about this before. When you have people say, "Well, if this person's elected, I'm going to leave the country," and we have said, "You're a coward. You're a coward. I will never leave this country.
No, I'll never leave this country. I'll never leave this country.
I will be buried." You know, I look at it, you know, I look at the Constitution of the United States, and I see what it represents. And you and I both understand history. We understand how rare this is. I will never back off to the evil that exists in this country right now. The perfect example yesterday with the administration abandoning our hostages. I will never submit to the evil. I don't care what it takes. I will never, ever, ever, ever do that. I'll never betray another American.
No.
I'll never promote or lie and say that betraying an American citizen or American soldiers is somehow taking the moral high ground, ever.
Yeah.
Sorry, it stops there. I'm an American.
Right.
I'm an American, and I'm an American because I love the Constitution of the United States, but what comes with that is duty and loyalty to others.
That's it. And that's
service to others.
And that's who I believe most of us are. That's who I believe most of us are. And on Sunday, I had been reading some things. I know Breitbart, Texas was doing some things on the border, things that were, as they're always doing, and some other stories about those coming, some of the gang members coming here to the United States and how they feel like they can get away with certain crimes. And then I read this post by Godsod on X, and the first part of it just sums it up. The world does not abide to feel-good platitudes. History is replete with very bad people who wish to take everything away from you, including your life. The only thing that stops them from doing so is your response to such objectives is equally fierce and unforgiving. Full stop. You can't lay down, and this is the problem. He goes on, tending the other cheek, hugging your enemies, peace through reggae, etc., is beautiful as a sticker on a Subaru station wagon with your socks and sandals. But this is not how reality operates.
All right, I thank him for giving me just a moment of joy in the way that he wrote that.
It was, and this is where I was when I ran this errand, and my lovely wife came with me, and I was just in that state of mind that I am now, and I was thinking of all of the atrocities that the cartels have just laid at the feet of Americans, and how we just turn our backs on the border agents. Americans who are being killed, including those who are the countless that are dying from fentanyl, others that are being murdered by illegals, cops that are being beaten by people from other countries, and then those people that beat the cops are set free without bail. And we've decided, and they're all mocking us. All of the bad people that wish to take advantage of our soft, lay down, run me over attitude are laughing at us because they know they're going to get away with it. They know that this administration is going to do nothing about it. At the very least, they have until January 20th, 2025 to do whatever they wish to do, and this administration is going to help them do it. Not just turn the other cheek. This administration is putting a port in Gaza that will deliver aid, not humanitarian aid to the enemy. Hamas gets that aid, and that's what that is for. They're expediting aid straight into the hands of terrorism so they can continue doing what they do. And on top of that, from the other side, still allowing Iran to sell billions and billions and tens of billions of dollars worth of oil so that they can fund all of the world's terrorism as a superstate builds in Afghanistan because of the botched exit. That's where we are, and that was the mindset that I was in Sunday, and I had to, for a minute, I just had to, kind of, because I didn't want to send my wife away.
You got to separate your.
I tried to, and she knows this. I mean, we've been together for over 35 years and married for most of that, and so she's been with me virtually all of my radio career. But she sees it, and I really am not the angry old guy. But this right here, I don't care. If I was 21, I'd feel the same.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd feel the same no matter no matter what.
And this is where the passion is. I'm not going to give up.
You know how I know? Because when I was in my 20s, the hostages in Iran happened.
Yeah,
Remember, that
right.
changed an election.
Yes, I was standing at the gate as a young security police explorer, Laughlin Air Force Base front gate, as all the Iranian pilots were being bussed home. They were being bussed to, I think, Lackland, where they were being flown home. They were up until that point, a certain point, we were actually training Iranian pilots here on Air Force bases, and that ended. And I remember that day, and I remember the hostage situation. And I was much younger. I'm 10 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
I feel older.
You look older.
I do look older, and it's because I'm trying hard. And those moments stay with you. Those I would say that was a pivotal moment for me as a child, but also as an American, and understanding, because if we want to talk identity, that's my identity. My identity is an American. That's who I am. And my father, your father, everyone who has served, they all deserve that. They deserve our passion for freedom. They deserve our passion for doing what's right. They deserve our passion for and support to them for hunting down the enemy and eliminating them, and not laying down, but responding, like Saad said, with equally fierce and unforgiving force. You don't stand down. You don't turn away unless you're Joe Biden. That's when you turn away. He has turned his back literally and figuratively, repeatedly on this country in such moments, including the botched exit of Afghanistan, throwing his hands up in the air saying, I don't have the power to close the border. Go to hell. Go to hell. You don't have any, you've abandoned, if you were ever there at all, you've abandoned your post, Mr. President. And you deserve to be out of office permanently. My God, if we don't, I've been saying that I have felt November 5th, 2024 is one of the key crossroads in this country, and we can decide. We can decide all of this ends and we get back to caring about the U.S. and its citizens first. We care about eliminating the enemy that wants us gone. The big target, aside from Israel, for groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, is the U.S. We all know this. Beyond Israel, it's the U.S. They will strike at every turn. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It is going to happen. And you can expect a response from this administration if it happens on American soil during the Biden presidency that, well, we need to take our time to assess what has happened here and have an understanding for the enemy. Tell me why they would change their opinion from where it is now and where it has been since the beginning, since he took office. Tell me why he would change his heart now and start caring about Americans.
I'll just read the last line of the Declaration of Independence. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
There you have it.
And that, from the time that I was a child and read that part of the Declaration of Independence, and then, learned about the Constitution and, went through the 60s, went through the 70s, and seen the advancement that this country has made, and to see us betray our soldiers, to see us yesterday betray our citizens, the hostages still left in Israel, is just so, and then being lied to by the administration. Almost, like I said, it's got to the point of gaslighting because Kirby, well, this is in the best interest of the United States and Israel. Go to hell. Seriously.
Yeah.
You can't. No Democrat can defend what they did yesterday. None.
Nope.
And if you do, you're just like them.
Yep.
You're not an American. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We will get to the story yesterday on Trump's fine being drastically reduced and the analysis of the mainstream media. You know something? Here, you want to know the difference between conservatives and liberals, and even Republicans and Democrats? If that had happened, you would have people like the Wall Street Journal, National Review. If you reverse this, and this was done to a Democrat, you would have, and we would be doing the same thing. We'd be saying you can't do this.
You can't do it.
We would be. That's the difference between conservatives and liberals.
Right.
We would say, I don't like this guy. You can't do this.
Right.
Democrats won't.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, Eric, I was, telling you, I think it was off the air. I don't think I said it on the air. Sorry, but we both got really emotional in the first hour, and I totally justified, I believe, with the United States and the Biden administration abandoning the hostages in Israel yesterday. And it's just so reprehensible. I was telling you, and I have the DVD at home, and I've never been able to watch it. I've never watched Black Hawk Down. I just can't watch it. Yeah. I can't. When you had Les Aspin refuse from General Montgomery to send 10 days before, the help that the soldiers needed in Mogadishu, the backup that they really needed, and we hung those soldiers out to die in the most horrible way. Yeah, and I just I've never forgotten that. That still burns me more than anything. It just does. You don't abandon American citizens. You don't abandon American soldiers. You don't, I don't want to say abandon. You don't betray, because what you saw yesterday was not an abandonment of American citizens. It was a betrayal by abstaining from the Security Council vote. And don't give me this crap as the White House did yesterday. Well, it's what are the words that they used? It's not it's not like a law. It's a
regulation.
No, it's not a regulation. It's a vote that means nothing. It's just
resolution.
A resolution. It's just a resolution. It has no. Of course, it did, because immediately afterwards, Hamas came out and said, "No, we love this, and we're not going to negotiate with Israel."
Right. As if. And well, then tell me why you participate in any resolution with the UN. Anyone?
Yeah.
Any of them. So, are you never going to participate again in a resolution because it's non-binding?
That was it. Non-binding. Thank you. Duh. Yeah. It's non-binding. No, it's not. It has you basically let the world know the United States position, which is to betray and abandon our hostages in Israel. That's what you did.
Yeah.
By saying that a ceasefire agreement has to come first before that, that's exactly what you did. And it's not in the best interest of the United States. Don't lie and say it's in the best interest, as Kirby did yesterday, the best interest of the United States and the best interest of Israel. And don't give me any crap. Well, that's your opinion. No, that's fact.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. It's over and over again. Again, you just have to. You have to look at it in a very clear and concise way for what it is, and this splitting hairs or trying to. I don't know I don't know how I don't know how you would walk around as a human being, as a person. Your goal is to sit there and lie to the American people about something so reprehensible involving American hostages.
Yep.
I don't know how you do that. I don't know how your conscience lets you get away with that unless you have none.
Yeah.
There's really, I mean, I don't know how you just must be soulless, uncaring altogether as a person to be able to walk around and say, yep, we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that.
Well, it's as far as I'm concerned, by abstaining yesterday, the Biden administration has officially become pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
That they approve of the terrorism that happened on October 7th.
Yeah.
Convince me I'm wrong? You can't.
No.
Try to convince me I'm wrong? You can't.
Yeah. It just...
You said it day one. There is no middle ground here.
Right. Well, no, there isn't. It's a very clear line. On one side, the radicals. On the other side, everybody else. So you just have to decide which side of the line you're on. And it is primarily people on the left that are on that radical side.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the same people who, throughout the years, wanted you to believe they were the ones who cared the most. They were the ones who cared the most about other people. But they don't. They care nothing about Israel. Their anti-Semitism knows no end on the extreme side. They proudly promote their anti-Semitism. They proudly stand with Hamas. I didn't see that. You were talking earlier about you thought you'd never see a day where the American government, and I know you meant regardless of who was in office, of course, would abandon American hostages in such a crass fashion. Well, you know, again, it builds to this point, and we've been asking, well, how much more radical do you get? Well, to the point of abandoning hostages. They've abandoned the American people as a whole, and they've done it from the beginning. So, of course, for them, hostages doesn't matter. That's logically right out of their playbook. Logically, that's where they are. Of course they are.
I was reading Nick Arama from Red State. I just happened to come upon the article. I was looking at the left melting down over the appeals court decision on the Trump fine yesterday, and I just saw the headline: "All Biden's fault. Hamas rejects latest ceasefire hostage deal, seals their fate." Joe Biden abandoned Israel on Monday when he refused to have the U.S. veto a UN Security Council resolution. The resolution called for an immediate ceasefire, which would then stop Israel from wiping out the Hamas terrorists. The ceasefire was not conditional on releasing the hostages, according to the Israeli ambassador. Republicans, including Senator Tom Cotton and Ted Cruz, blasted Biden for throwing Israel under the bus and throwing a lifeline to Hamas. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also ripped the move, saying that he would be canceling a trip to D.C. that his aides had planned. And this is where Kirby came out and says, "We're doing this in the best interest of Israel." Just shut up.
Yeah.
Just leave, quit. So what has all the appeasement of Hamas resulted in? Israel had agreed to a very bad deal earlier in order to try to get the hostages, which included 5 Americans, out. The offer was a 6-week ceasefire to have an exchange of people. It would get a lot of the hostages, but let a lot of Hamas murderers out who would likely come back into the war against Israel. So not a great idea. But even that wasn't enough for the administration, with Biden throwing Israel under the bus and the UN being allowed to pass that disgusting resolution. Now Hamas is responding, saying Israel is not responding to any of the basic demands, that they want a comprehensive ceasefire that has Israel completely pulling out of Gaza and returns all political prisoners, Hamas terrorists being held by Israel. So Biden's actions made Hamas even more reluctant to come to the table and deal honestly. Why would they? They know Biden and the United Nations will continue to press Israel. If they hold out, they likely believe that they can even do better and get more murderers released. That's the result of Joe Biden's weakness. Hamas doesn't care if civilians might be hurt in the process. They don't give a darn about their own people. The ambassador to Israel said releasing the hostages should be the first priority of the council. Your demand for a ceasefire without making it conditional on the release of hostages harms the efforts to release them and gives Hamas hope of achieving a ceasefire without releasing them. All council members should have opposed this resolution. So now what will the left say? Israel was willing to agree to a bad deal, but once again, it's Hamas throwing a wrench into the ceasefire deal. It's Hamas who has always been the problem in this equation. Yet the Biden administration and the left continued to attack and blame Israel while essentially helping Hamas in the process. But as much as Biden tries to throw them a lifeline, it will now have the opposite effect. It's not going to stop Israel now, and they will wipe out Hamas. That will be the ultimate result of the rejection. Now it ensures that the only way to finish this, and that this is the only way to finish this and get the hostages. We normally don't have moments of silence, but you just run out of things to say because it's so incredibly disgusting and betraying of American citizens. I don't even have words anymore for how anti-American this administration is. I never thought I would say that you have an administration and a president who is completely against the best interest of American citizens, and when it comes down to it, doesn't give a damn about American soldiers, doesn't give a damn about American citizens at all. If you want the evidence, yesterday proved it, and then the line from John Kirby saying this was in the best interest of the United States and Israel, when everybody knows that's a lie, is just so incredibly reprehensible.
And going beyond, it's not just the not caring part, it's proactively working against the safety and security of all Americans. Everything from throwing his hands up going, I can't do anything about the border that he broke.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. Abandoning Americans in Afghanistan and the service members who were killed, all of that could have been prevented. That entire botched exit was built
on a lie,
on a series of lies.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had to be bothered after we got out and Afghanistan fell to the Taliban, he had to be bothered to come back from vacation and then immediately turned his back and went back on vacation, then had to be bothered again to come back and do a sit down. How dare you people bother him when he's turning his back on Americans? Who do you think you are? If we don't care now, we never will.
Sad day for America yesterday. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
The IFTA tax program redistributes tax revenue to states based on your actual miles run. Thus, the truly cheapest fuel can only be found if you subtract federal and state taxes and state surcharges from the pump price to compare. The strategy means that you buy without regard for whether you are paying more at the pump in taxes. IFTA also considers state surcharges, which complicates the fuel buying strategy. Indiana, Kentucky, and Virginia have per gallon surcharges. Connecticut, Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon have per mile surcharges. While some owner-operators buy only enough fuel to get through surcharge states, this practice can backfire, depending on the actual cost of the fuel in each state. When comparing fuel prices, always remember, pump pride minus taxes equals the real fuel cost. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866 90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. As always, we appreciate it. Let's go to Paul in Arkansas. Paul, welcome as we talk about the United States abandoning and betraying our hostages yesterday. Hi, Paul. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi.
How you doing tonight, Gary?
Very good.
To me, this is more than just abandonment. In my personal opinion, I think it's treasonous.
Well, it doesn't fit.
I'm tired of seeing.
Yeah, we use that word, but it isn't technically what treason is.
It's in the spirit of treason.
I understand it may not.
Yeah, I understand.
But to me, the whole Democratic Party is out to destroy our nation.
With what they're doing at the border, with what they just did yesterday, what they're doing with energy. By the way, and thank you so much for your call, Paul. Yeah, just very quickly, Eric, did you see, I mentioned yesterday, the United States now, even though, and the Biden, this is the beautiful part, Biden can't use it. We've talked about this before. It happened during the Obama administration that the United States was able to, and the oil industry was able to produce oil on state and private land, even though the federal government was attempting to shut it down everywhere they could. Same with the Biden administration. And in January, the report came out, I think yesterday or the day before, that the United States now produced over 13 million barrels of oil per day in January. I'll get the exact figure coming up. I've got the story here. It's just not in front of me, which is the most ever produced ever in the world by a nation.
Yeah.
And Biden can't take credit for it because he still screams.
He's working to shut it down,
My goal is to get rid of it. You and I always chuckled because Obama was doing everything he possibly could. And then when Trump came in and said, look at all the oil being produced, all the oil being produced. And Obama, who when he was in office talked how he was trying to always shut down oil and natural gas, came out and goes, wait a minute, that happened during my administration. That happened during my administration. Well, Biden's even been more. I'll do everything I can to destroy fossil fuels. And the United States in January produced more oil because we produce it on state and private land that the federal government hasn't been able to touch. We produce more than any other nation in the world. Yeah. And the other thing is they still expect gasoline to go up to $4 an hour. It's something that you and I haven't discussed much. You know, really, if you look at it, inflation hasn't infected gasoline prices like you would expect.
No.
And probably it's a lot of the efficiencies that they have in producing oil, the productivity in producing it, but they expect it to go back up to $4 a gallon. You know, look, we talk about, and, you know, the Republicans always talk about the fact that, you know, gas prices are still way up over when Trump was president. Look, just like Biden can't take credit for 15 million jobs. The reason the gasoline went down to, what was it? Some places $1.50 during COVID was because we shut down the government.
Right.
The gas prices.
Nobody was driving.
Right. The gas prices would not have been that low if it wasn't.
No.
If it wasn't for that. So neither really can take credit for it or claim, that COVID didn't have something to do with both of those. But when you look at it overall, gas prices have remained relatively stable if you take COVID out of it, and really hasn't been affected by inflation. And you and I have talked about it and go, yeah, but it's going to be affected by inflation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It may not have, but it's going to be. But
right.
But when you look at the energy policy, the economic, energy, and national security suicide on energy, the border, what we saw yesterday, enabling Iran in order to get more money to fund terrorists that will attack the United States and the United States' interest. You're right. I understand why people say this administration is treasonous.
Right.
About to trigger somebody right now. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at some headlines here. Liberal meltdowns after Trump wins reduction in bond. Oh,
it was really bad. I mean, it was just laughable. And by the way, the reduction is whoa. 175. That's still way too high.
You know, it's interesting. So the appeals court just took out the interest completely?
Yeah, it seems.
Because I found that interesting that that the judge said, well, the interest from the day we found guilty, but you didn't come up with an amount. So to come up with an amount and then charge interest a year back when Trump didn't know what the amount was.
Right. You applied it to what?
You applied it to, okay, this is, I'm applying it to the $350 million that you owe now, but I made the decision a year later.
Because based on that standard, then you could have gone back even further. I mean, if you're going to apply that standard, if you didn't have a clear understanding of that, the whole thing, frankly, when I talk about it, with a friend of mine who's a business owner and has been very successful. And I just asked him the question. I said, so you've done business in New York. You're not based in New York. Do you have any concern about that whole thing? And by the way, somebody who's not a Republican voter. He's a Democrat. He's a Texas Democrat, but he's a Democrat. He said, no. I would never set up shop in New York. He said, for a number of reasons, but now this scares me. Because if they decide that they can get away with this, he said, what scares me is that I don't think it's exclusive to New York. I think it could happen in other states. And that's something we've talked about. Why just New York? If you have the similar mindset with attorneys general in different states and they decide to go after businesses because they feel empowered by Letitia James, then why not?
Because I asked the serious question. It's the first thing that came to my mind. I was talking to my dad about it the other day, and I said, Eric and I had talked about when you protest your taxes, that we all set values. The government can come in and say, no, our value is right. That when you fight your property tax, and you say, okay, I think, and I mentioned the situation I went through one time where I went, okay, my house isn't worth this much. Let me check the comps. And I checked the comps and I picked out in fact, what I did was I used the comps that they gave me.
Yeah.
That the county gave me. And so I used the comps that the county gave me, and it was, and let's just say, and this isn't the figure. I'm just trying to find a figure that is easy to, calculate in people's heads.
$5 billion.
Okay, yeah, I live in a $10 million house.
Yeah, right.
I live in a $10 million house, and after I looked at the comps, I went, wow, I can take this down, to no, it's appraised at $10 million. Okay,
right?
It's appraised at $10 million. That's what they tell me the appraisal is, and I go, no, it's not.
From the Central Appraisal District, yeah.
Right, and then I look at their comps that they give me. Here are some possible comps. I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's $7 million. And
Right.
So I go and debate them. I lose 2-1, but I actually knew my house was worth more than $7 million. So the fact that I admitted that, am I committing fraud? By Letitia James,
Right.
what she said, I'm committing fraud. It's not a negotiation. I'm committing fraud because I just said I knew my house was worth more than that. I knew I could sell it for more. I don't know how much more I could, but I knew I could sell it for more. And so, and my dad's like, he goes, really? And I will say this, Dad does not pay as much attention to the news anymore.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
My dad turns 98 in a couple of weeks. He just doesn't pay as much attention. But he did there, and he goes, what the hell's all this with Trump and the 450 million? What's this? And I explained it to him, and he goes, well, you can't do that. He goes, it's a negotiation.
Right.
And then that's when I thought, well, what about MSRP? On every vehicle out there, MSRP. And
Right.
and I was looking the other day, there was because we were talking RVs, and I don't know if the algorithm was in, but the algorithm was in, but because we were talking about it and what microphones are picking up what on my phone. But I go to YouTube on my TV, which when I sign is the same YouTube on my phone.
Right. Yeah.
And there it comes up. This RV, the MSRP $149,000. We're selling it for $89,000. Well, what does MSRP mean?
We know what it stands for, but
it's,
what meaning does it? What purpose does it have? In that negotiation.
But you have more of a standard that is inaccurate than you would for anything that Trump did, because nobody ever pays MSRP.
Right.
It's a negotiating point, but they're saying this is the retail sales price, and it's not.
Right.
Nobody's going to sell it for that amount. That's fraud, according to James.
Well, remember, there was, I got to go back. I don't remember if this was a state law here in Texas or if it was I got to go back. I think it was. Remember all the furniture stores?
Yeah. Oh,
clearance.
Yes. Closing.
We're closing.
Right.
And they were closing for 20 years. We're closing. Clearance. Everything. 60% off. 70% off. And so they created a law that came back, and I think it was a state law, that came back and said, yeah, you can't do that. You have to end one sale, and then you can start another sale if you want. But you can't just because it implies that you're always giving that discount, and that's false. Your standard price is just low. You can advertise that. We have everyday low prices that are better than most sale prices or whatever, however you wanted to do that. But they implied, just like with MSRP, get 20% off, 40% off MSRP, whatever. It implies that you're getting a massive bargain. It creates a false sense of urgency in the buyer. That's the reason you do it. Now, there's something called due diligence, right?
Yes.
You should never be in a position of buying something, especially a large purchase, like a car, when you need it. Now, quite unfortunately, it does happen. Your car breaks or it's totaled or something happens, and you're going to have to shop for a car, and you need one. But you're in a better negotiating place if you can shop without being in that place, so you can walk away from the table if you don't believe you're getting a good deal. Walking away is the most powerful, being able to walk away is the most powerful tool you can have in any negotiation. Getting back to Letitia James, what negotiation, in what setting would any negotiation not qualify for fraud on one or both sides? You could make the case one, and by the way, the basis for her entire case against Trump is fraud. The judge, as we pointed out, acted fraudulently by coming in and using an extremely low number. If Trump had come in and said, Mar-a-Lago's worth $2 trillion, the world would have laughed. But what is that laughter from? The laughter is from, okay, let's look at the comps. And what would have happened? It would have happened the way it played out, with the judge coming in saying $18 million for Mar-a-Lago, and everyone said, oh, okay. You had real estate agents saying, here are some comps. Not that, by the way, in some of these properties, you can't build the comp in because part of the value is celebrity ownership.
Yeah.
It's a thing. You ever see where so-and-so actor or actress is selling their home? I think it was Billy Joel is selling a really great Long Island. I've seen this thing. It's crazy. But this neighborhood that he lives in, of course, it's a massive house and he's selling it. But someone is going to buy that house and go, I bought Billy Joel's home.
Yep.
It happens all the time.
George Costanza bought John Voight's car. John.
John.
I mean, John Voight, the actor? No, the dentist.
I had a friend of mine who bought a townhouse from Joe Pesci. So now I think he actually got a good deal because the word was, and I would have to look this up. But the word was, I was told, and this goes back years, that Pesci was going through a divorce or something, and so they were lowballing the sale, and so he actually didn't overpay for it because it was the nature of the sale. But the point being is that there's value in the value becomes whatever somebody is willing to pay. Now they can overpay, and it doesn't necessarily mean that value would stick. We're seeing that, by the way, all across North Texas in our area. People came in, and they were willing, and they came in from other parts of the country where real estate prices are much higher. They came in with cash, and they would bid above the ask. And when you bid above the ask and you throw down and you say, well, we've got $100,000 in cash from our sale back in California or wherever they came from, and we're willing to go $50,000 above the ask, it gets into a bidding war. And now there was some stories that came out saying a few of those folks aren't happy they did that because they're waiting to not be underwater in terms of the value. They overpaid for the home. That does happen. Now, based on appreciation on the standard rate, at some point, if they keep the house long enough, they will not be underwater. But these values go back and forth. There are ebbs and flows. There are things that there are market forces at work. Well, you mentioned like gasoline, the value of gasoline. What was that? Supply and demand during COVID, because the supply went way up because the demand went way down. We were staying home. Nobody was driving, and so it dropped dramatically. The demand for homes in small towns where there is no industry, and we see it. Like, my gosh, just drive through West Texas, and while there's plenty of oil industry out there, there are plenty of abandoned homes and tiny towns, and it's something that intrigues me. Growing up in Texas, I mean, those are there are ebbs and flows. There are negotiations. There's the back and forth, and you can make the case based on what Letitia James did that not just one, but both sides in any negotiating equation are guilty of fraud.
Fraud, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you could apply it
Right,
anywhere.
because if I would have won, my battle with the county appraisers, well, then I, according to Letitia James, could accuse the county of fraud.
Right.
Because the true value is what, we eventually negotiated what it was.
Right.
That would have been the true value. I did see that Trump in his statement yesterday, as we have said, that the judge in this case, if you're following James' standard, used fraud to convict Trump because what he promoted the most was Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
At $18
At
million.
$18 million.
So the judge committed fraud.
That's just as bad as Trump saying it's worth $2 trillion.
Yeah. Well, you saw Trump said
by their own standards.
Trump said it's worth 50 to 100 times more. Did you see that yesterday? 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, the left meltdown over the reduction in Trump's fine. By the way, it's going to go down a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. That's just the beginning of it. So we'll get to that. Some really interesting polling out there yesterday that we will get to. We'll tell you about the California fast food chains that are now laying off workers because of the $20 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah, of course.
In California, which is like, duh.
Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Welcome and good morning. How's everybody doing? Glad to have you aboard. Man, the left sure melted down over the appeals court reducing the appeal bond to $175 million and extending the deadline for paying it for 10 days. The left just melting down.
Yeah.
Let me get through some stuff here. Michael Steele wrote this. Yet again, Donald Trump gets special treatment with his own private system of justice. The New York Appeals Court has decided to give Trump more time to pay less money by reducing his bond from $454 million to $175. He has $175.
Wrong.
And giving him 10 days to get the money. That makes absolutely no sense. What happened to Michael Steele? Did he ever have any?
I don't know.
Did he ever have any conservative thoughts? People may not know who Michael Steele is. Michael Steele was the chair of the RNC, I think, from 2009 to 2011. I think that's what it was, if my memory serves me right.
Right, yeah.
So he was heading the Republican Party. I don't know of a moderate conservative point that he holds now.
No, which tells me he never did.
So, because we've talked about this before, you don't, after you're 40 years old, I would say even before, but by the time you're 40 years old, you're set in what you believe.
Yeah.
I've always been set in my belief, even when I wasn't able to articulate it. I was always a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And I say articulate it because most people don't articulate. Most people don't do talk shows.
Right.
Most people don't do this 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And so a lot of people, well, you know what your thought process is, but you don't spend a lot of time because you're doing other things in life. Maybe now people are paying more attention to it. I know when I was growing up, it just wasn't the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It just wasn't but then again, the ability to get information wasn't as easy either. Or to express yourself. There was no Twitter. There was no X. There was no Facebook. There was no place on social media where everybody can promote what they believe now. So I believe people are probably articulating their ideas, outside, a lot more outside of media, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good thing. But whatever happened to Michael Steele? Did he ever hold? And I think you're right. I think you can look at it and go, well, possibility is he just wanted to be head of the RNC. He wanted a leadership position, but he had no conservative or Republican, he wasn't Republican or conservative on the issues at all.
You can't tell me that he had any conviction at any point when I'm sorry. His own brand of justice, Trump is getting away with it because he's rich.
Well, that seems to be the narrative here.
Yeah.
I think the talking points went out because look at this here.
Well, I thought he was broke, Don.
Yeah,
because yesterday he was broke, Don. Now he's too rich, Don.
That didn't last long.
It didn't.
But look at tell me if there's talking points. Yet again, real Donald Trump gets special treatment with his own private system of justice. All right, here we go. Mm-hmm. Steve Beschloss, the fake presidential historian. The New York Appeals Court dropping the Trump bond, $175 million. One system of justice for him, another system of justice for everybody else. Beyond appalling. Nancy Lee Graham. Anyone else beyond sick of this jackass continually getting special treatment? What American would be allowed to get away with even 5 of the hundreds of egregious actions against this thug? What is the reason for his bond getting reduced by half? Then the best one is, this is really incredible. This is Tristan Snell, who is an MSNBC legal commentator. So let's get it from the legal point of view. We understand the rhetoric. Mm-hmm. There's one system of justice for Trump, another system of justice. Now, Republicans would agree with you, but for the opposite reason.
Right.
But what is your explanation for it? None of those people explained, not Michael Steele, none of them explained specifically or gave examples of the different systems of justice for both, and nobody ever explained the legal implications of a civil case like this and fraud.
Right.
They didn't explain anything to do with it whatsoever. Now, let's see, maybe the legal expert from MSNBC will, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go.
Honestly, this is so infuriating, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know if I care what the process is.
Okay, we're going to stop it there. Well, the process is everything. What do you mean you don't care about the process?
You don't care about due process.
Yeah, if the legal process is flawed, what do you mean you don't care about it? You would want to promote where the legal process was flawed, would you not?
What he meant to say was, my hatred for Donald Trump defies the law. It makes me defy the law and the legal process, and I won't change ever.
And let's continue here from MSNBC. Here we go. This is their MSNBC legal commentator, Tristan Snell. Here we go.
That these judges are arriving at, whatever it is, it's flawed. I can tell you that much.
Okay, what we want to know is, then it's flawed. Now, you would expect, anybody listening right now, that Eric and I, if we said it was flawed, you would then say, all right, let me get my popcorn. I want to hear how these guys explain how it's flawed, because naturally that's what the idiots overnight, even the idiots overnight on Red Eye, they just don't say it's flawed.
They tell you why.
They tell you why it's flawed legally. Now, I'm not a lawyer. You're not a lawyer. He's our legal commentator on MSNBC.
Right.
Let's hear his explanation. Okay, here we go.
I mean, David put it well. This is a different process for this person. We have decided that he gets his own private court of justice. He has a private plane.
Okay, what does Donald Trump having a private plane have anything to do with whether the legal process was followed here?
Because liberals believe it should be against the law to have a private plane. Oh, unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, is it a climate? Is this a climate change defense against the civil suit? None of it makes sense. So far, he hasn't explained anything because we want to know legally why you say this is flawed. Legally, tell us the specifics.
Right.
Legally, how Donald Trump is somehow getting special advantage. Let's see if he explains it.
All right.
So he has private clubs that he lives in.
Okay, private clubs that he lives in has nothing to do with this case. That's like saying somebody commits, somebody is alleged to commit murder, and you're talking about the car that they drive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's did they commit? Is the evidence there to show that they committed a murder?
Right.
And if a judge comes out and says, "Well, whatever decision the judge makes, you should hit his house, his car, his clubs, his plane have nothing to do with it."
He wears nice suits.
Right. Nothing to do with it. Let's continue. Because remember, this is the legal expert on MSNBC, not just a regular Joe like Scarborough. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Yes, Mika. Yes, Mika. I used to be a conservative. I used to represent the most conservative district. But no, now that I met Mika, no, yes, dear. Whatever you say, Mika. Whatever your family says, Mika. Yes, Mika. Yes, Mika. I don't have a brain of my own, Mika.
And if you don't like what my wife tells me I have to tell you, then F you.
Let's continue here because I'm still trying to find the legal explanation here from the MSNBC commentator. Okay.
Apparently, he basically fashioned himself his own private militia to try to take over the Capitol. Now he's getting his own private system of justice.
By the way, Trump had a militia, an armed militia? Because a militia is something that's armed. I didn't know that. Is that accurate? Did Trump have an armed militia?
It's new to me.
Was there a militia? I didn't know there was a militia.
I didn't know
about
the militia.
Okay, let's see. So far, he hasn't explained anything to do with this particular case. Here we go. Yeah. Okay.
This is an absolute travesty. It would not happen for anybody else. Anybody else, it would be like, sorry, buddy, you lost. Pay up. For him, he gets his own set of rules.
Did he explain anything?
No.
Did he explain the legal implications of where the appeals court justice was flawed at all? Did he do? Let's look at somebody like Jonathan Turley. Jonathan Turley will walk you through each and every point. Jonathan Turley, a Democrat, but Jonathan Turley will walk you through every single legal point.
Yep.
There were no legal points made there.
No.
It was all
jealousy and envy.
Yeah.
He's rich. And another thing, he's rich. He also has money.
My God, it's so easy. It is so easy to just destroy the arguments of these people.
That's embarrassingly bad.
It is.
Legal expert. Yeah, and he's rich.
He's a poser.
He's got a private plane.
I use the word poser.
He's got boats.
That's my defense. He's got boats. He's got a club, and therefore, because he has a boat and a club, he gets his own private system of justice.
His house is a resort. He owns golf courses.
You know something? Trump sucks. You know why? He's got more stuff than I do.
I hit you with the golf courses. I touched a button, didn't I? Yeah.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah. I know I would.
That was it. He gets to play. He doesn't have to pay green fees.
He can decide where he wants to play golf. And how many does he own?
Since
I think I heard Trump say that he owns $4 trillion and that they're each worth $4 trillion. Maybe
Trump is completely wrong on everything because he's got a golf club and I don't.
Yeah.
And isn't that a solid point I just made there? That's a solid point.
Well, you have a golf club, but it's the kind of club you use to play golf, not the club you belong to. He has a golf club that you belong to.
All right, I think my golf swing is better than Trump. You saw it yesterday. You saw my golf.
That's a good swing.
You were quite impressed.
That's a
you
good
said
swing.
That the 9 months of lessons last year paid off.
That's a good swing.
He was like, you know what I was showing him? That because I had put, when I went back out and hit the first time, and I was showing Eric yesterday, I said, they're adding AI to Facebook. And I said, listen to when my club hits the ball, and it was like, whoo.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. That sounded like I hit the best shot ever, and I didn't notice it. And then I went back to the actual video that I took off my phone.
That was still on your phone.
So it was like, click. It was like, and on the face it was like,
yeah, you hit it, and it goes, dink.
Yeah.
and then whoosh. And by the way, also on the Facebook version, applause. That was weird.
But then Eric said, he goes, yeah, maybe, but that's a really good swing.
No, that was a good swing. That was a good swing.
You got a good swing there.
That was a good swing.
But, I mean, it's stupid. It's like, okay, my argument that the legal system is favoring Trump is jealousy and envy.
That's it. That's all you heard.
That's all you heard. It's like,
wow.
Seriously, I mean, is that the kind of legal? I got to find out where this person went to school, this Tristan Snell, because
I want to hear them. I want to hear them debate, or actually, I want to hear them argue before the court. Please stand in front of the court and make your case.
All right,
based on what you just said.
All right, I have him here in Google. I'm about to hit enter.
Okay,
I have.
All right.
You don't
know.
I don't know who he is.
Okay, right,
he's just MSNBC legal contributor.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, what are the odds he went to an Ivy League school? I swear I'm not. Look, that's what are the odds?
Pretty high.
Okay, here we go. I'm clicking it right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Tristan Snell is a lawyer and legal commentator featured on MSNBC and NPR and in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. He served as an assistant attorney general for New York State.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm trying to find Wikipedia here. Just trying to see. Okay, I can't find him on Wikipedia. I just want to see where he graduated from.
All right.
Yeah, but as you can see there, I can't find him. You got to have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah. You would think he would create his own.
Okay. Yeah, I can't find out where he went to college.
All right. We'll see if we can find it during the break.
Yeah, we'll
or
search
something.
for it. 866-98 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You got breaking news over there?
Yes, according to CNN just a few minutes ago, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed early Tuesday morning after it was struck by a large ship, according to video obtained by CNN. All traffic is being detoured, said Maryland Transportation Authority, and it's unclear if anyone was injured. CNN says they reached out to the Baltimore City Fire Department for additional information. The 1.6-mile four-lane bridge extends over the Patapsco River. I hope I got that right. And serves as the outermost crossing of the Baltimore Harbor. I've actually seen, this bridge. I haven't been there in person.
It's a big bridge.
Yeah, it's a large
big
bridge.
It's
been in countless TV shows and movies, I think, and an essential link of I-695 and the Baltimore Beltway. Its name, its namesake, Francis Scott Key, is believed to have sat near the side of the bridge as he witnessed the bombardment of Fort McHenry in 1814, inspiring him to write the words of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Wow, I'm looking at, I'm looking at a picture right now.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, again, this is the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, collapsing early Tuesday morning. This is breaking news from CNN. It was struck by a large ship, according to video. And, man, yeah, it looks crazy. It looks wild.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this picture right now. I mean, it's a large section that came down. This is huge.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Yeah, just reading here. It's been closed to traffic. Yeah, of course. I'm just reading the report. Of course it has been.
Yeah, 1.6-mile bridge, 4 lanes.
I'm watching right now it collapse. Mm-hmm. They've got video. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was closer to land. What's the land is more of the bridge. You're talking a massive section of this bridge came down.
Yeah, this is gone, yeah.
And if there will be casualties, if any, and you would assume that that kind of bridge like that, somebody would be on it. This is unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking at the raw footage right now of the bridge collapsing. Wow. And you can see it. It's, it's completely up, and it looks like the main section, the main arch. And this is a big bridge, and the whole thing comes down. It's wow. I mean, it ran right into it looks like the ship ran, and it looks like I'm looking at the ship, ran right into the main support of the main arch.
According to one spokesman there in the Baltimore area, they said they can confirm at 1:35 a.m. Baltimore City Police were notified of the partial bridge collapse with workers possibly in the water.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Breaking news here. Massive bridge collapse, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maryland. And you were waving at me?
No.
Oh, I thought you were waving at me that you had something to say. Another update here. I just posted it on my Twitter site, X site, whatever, at Gary Red Eye 1 if you want to see it. But we're talking about it. Looks like it, and again, it's dark out. There are lights in the background, but you can see the full bridge. I don't know if it's the full bridge, but it's a major portion of that bridge. We're not talking 20 feet or 100 feet. We're talking thousands of feet. This bridge came down right at the major arch.
Yeah,
the whole thing, and it looks like that. It was this. It looks like the one of the supports, the major supports of that arch was what was hit by the boat. That's what it appears to be right now. Mm-hmm. But it's just unbelievable. Did you say you were talking about cars or trucks? Did you get a different?
It appears that there were multiple vehicles on the bridge at the time of the collapse, and it's hard to tell from the distance from which the video was taken, but it appears that there are multiple sets of headlights there. Don't know if those vehicles. There are reports of workers being in the water. Other reports on social media are saying there were vehicles on that bridge when it collapsed. If you look at the video, it appears to be the case that what you're seeing there, on the flat of the bridge, on the roadway itself of the bridge before it collapses, appears to be multiple sets of headlights. I don't know if those would have been workers, emergency vehicles, or if it was just commuters. I don't know.
I have a zoomed in. I just a zoomed in video, and you can see the cargo ship hitting that support right at the main arch.
Yeah,
you can see the impact of it. You can see debris flying from the impact site, and I'm just running it again here. Yeah, you can see it. There it is. The cargo ship smashing right into the main support, and the entire bridge comes down, or the entire, well, not just the arch, but the two sections next to the major arch also come down, and then I can't see anymore because it's just, even though it's very, let's say this, I'm looking at a widescreen picture, and every part of the bridge in that picture has come down.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and I can see one support then. So it's the two minor arches before the major arch. They both came down. Yeah, at least at the minimum. So you're talking about a massive. I don't know, 1,000 feet, maybe longer. I don't know.
Yeah.
They say the truss is 1,200 feet itself, so it's more than that. So it might be. You're talking about maybe, I don't know, close to a half mile of the bridge at the minimum, from what I can see, came down.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's horrifying looking.
Absolutely horrifying. And it's pretty tall. You're not talking about a bridge that's just 20 feet off the.
No.
Yeah. This is as major of a bridge as you can imagine. A live stream of the bridge appeared to show a cargo ship colliding with the support beam. That's what I see, causing the bridge to break and fall into the water. Of course, the Maryland Transportation Authority said all lanes are closed in both directions. You can't get through. And I'm looking at during the day an outbound cargo ship. Looks like a stock picture. And this is a massive cargo ship that goes through with plenty of room to spare.
Yeah.
So how high it is off the ground. We will find that out, for you here.
It is. Well, now I guess we can say was the main span of 1,200 feet was the third largest span of any continuous truss in the world. It was the longest bridge in the Baltimore metropolitan area, and the Wikipedia has actually already been updated to.
Yeah, so the main span, so that main span is at least 1,200 feet, and you're looking at on both sides.
It looks like
both sides came down.
Yeah,
there. So you're talking probably at least 2,000, 2,500 feet of the bridge, maybe 3,000 feet.
Yeah,
and we're talking right at the main arch where it's at its highest.
Right.
All came down. The bridge is 8,636 feet long. Carries an estimated 11.5 million vehicles annually. It is a designated hazmat truck route, as hazmats are prohibited in the Baltimore Harbor and the Fort McHenry tunnels.
Right.
Let me see. Construction began in 1972. The bridge was open to traffic in 1977.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know the height. I'm trying to find the 185 feet clearance.
Yeah.
Above.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the total length, 8,636 feet, and the longest span of that is 1,200 feet. And it looks like a good chunk of that is good. Now,
well, the main arch is a truss. That's 1,200 feet.
That's 1,200
gone.
feet. That's gone.
That's gone.
That basically was what was in the shot.
Right. And then
of a lot of the videos that you're seeing right now on social media and in the media.
Yeah. So 47 years old is the bridge, 4-lane bridge.
Wow. Yeah.
a designed steel arch-shaped continuous through truss bridge. Okay, so the truss would be where you have the continuous infrastructure above it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
that's
So
truss,
all right.
yes.
So it's not between the two columns where the major arch is. It's everything. So at least 1,200 feet of it has collapsed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I'm seeing reports that it could be as much as 1,600 feet. But again, these are just reports on social media. I don't.
Yeah, I can't.
None of these are. I've only seen one statement from a detective of the Baltimore Police Department that did say that they can confirm that the bridge did collapse. But of course, we're seeing that. The video is now very clear. And the question is, how many people were on the bridge? It appeared that when the bridge was collapsing, those vehicles looked to be stationary, and there were lights blinking, which makes it look like those are possibly emergency vehicles. I don't know if they would be state emergency vehicles, highway department, not sure. But it appeared that those lights on the bridge just before the collapse with those vehicles, that they would be like emergency vehicle lights. But multiple sets of headlights on the bridge, it appears, as it collapsed and went into the water.
Well, they said workers, and you're wondering if that's why they were
right.
That's why they were stationary.
That would add up. That would make sense. Just horrifying to witness here. Just horrifying.
It's and no doubt about it. I mean, you can see that the main support column of the major arch of the truss is what was hit by that cargo ship.
Right. And no word yet on any individuals or injuries on the ship itself. It appears that the bridge comes down and takes part of the bow. It hits part of the bow of the ship from this point, but from this vantage point of the one video, the ship is on the other side of that vantage point on the opposite side of the bridge. But it appears that that the bridge, and which would make sense if it hit it, that part of the bow was affected by that as well, by the collapse. But it's just horrifying to look at. It's just horrifying to think about. And as a hazmat route, there's no telling. Again, this is a disrupted route. Now it's obviously shut down, but would be and Baltimore is one of those areas, heavily industrial area that requires such routes, and that's just the way it's set up in the trucking industry, to keep certain materials basically out of certain areas as they're being transported. And the Key Bridge was that one of those routes. So
wow, you're right. Now I can see in the zoomed in picture, you can see what appears to be headlights of stationary vehicles.
They seem to be stationary at the time.
They're not moving. And the interesting thing is, if you were just to see it and weren't focused in on the column, because you can clearly see at the point the cargo ship and the debris flying as it hits the support, you would think that this was a controlled demolition. Mm-hmm. Would you not?
No, that's what it looks like. It
actually,
looks like it does have that, and I kind of thought about that as I'm watching the video repeatedly, trying to gather information from it, and it does. It kind of looks that way, but that's kind of how structures collapse, especially one of this size. And that ship was a huge, massive ship.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's big.
It's a container ship. And let's see here. getting some reports about the container ship and that it possibly is a container ship that is flagged out of Singapore. I mean, these container ships they're flagged all over the world. It's just the way it works with container ships. But it is a massive. If you've ever seen these up close, they're quite intimidating. I've been in bays where in shipping channels where they come through, and man, they're just massive. They're huge, and you can see it as it's in the video, as it's clearly making contact or has just made contact with the Key Bridge there in Baltimore. You can see the size compared to this massive bridge, which again, the truss span is the third longest truss span in the world, or was. And so that gives you some context as to how big this freight ship was. They're like all of them. They're built to be massive.
Yeah, I'm reading the New York Times where it says a partial collapse. Yeah, because the span is 8,600 feet, but the
total total length of it is
right. But this is a massive portion of the bridge that came down. New York Times 7 minutes ago, cargo ship hits Key Bridge in Baltimore, triggering partial collapse. I mean, that's true. I mean, that's not a false statement from what we can see.
Right.
But the part of the bridge that went down was massive.
Yeah, it was a huge section of it. Again, appears to be multiple vehicles that appeared to be stationary on the roadway of the bridge just moments before the collapse. You can see those lights, and you can also see flashing lights with those vehicles. We don't know. Again, we haven't identified what vehicles they are, but we're certainly going to be following this story throughout the morning.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. A few minutes ago, Washington Post, authorities were trying to rescue at least 7 people. Again, a portion of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, a huge portion of it, the highest portion of it, the main archway, collapsed after a large boat collided with it Thursday. The large vessel crashed into the bridge, catching on fire before sinking and causing multiple vehicles to fall into the river right now. So the Kevin Cartwright, Director of Communications for the Baltimore Fire Department, told Associated Press at 3 a.m. that they were looking for at least 7 people. 7 people believed to be in the water.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Breaking news. Continuing coverage here on Red Eye Radio. Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed early Tuesday morning after a support column was struck by a ship sending cars and at least one tractor-trailer into the Patapsco River. A spokesperson for the Baltimore City Fire Department said a major rescue operation was underway with all lanes closed and with traffic being rerouted from the 1.6-mile steel bridge that is part of Interstate 695. Now understand this bridge in case you're just tuning in. In the main, I guess you would say, truss is 185 feet off the river. So it's a pretty tall bridge. The entire bridge, this is a quote, the entire bridge collapsed into the Patapsco River, said Kevin Cartwright, the director of communications for the Baltimore Fire Department. And we're getting this again from the Baltimore Sun. We have reason to believe that there were vehicles and possibly a tractor trailer that went into the water. He said authorities were searching for at least 7 people in the water as of 3 a.m., but the number of vehicles that may have been impacted or traveling on the bridge is unknown. Mayor Brandon Scott said in the social media post that he was aware of the incident and was in contact with Governor Wes Moore and local officials and was headed towards the scene. Emergency personnel around the scene. Efforts are underway, Scott said on X. The Key Bridge, which was opened in 1977, is named for the writer of the Star Spangled Banner. The bridge is one of Baltimore's harbor's 3 toll crossings. So that's the latest that we have right now. So they're looking for 7. I don't know whether that's the workers are looking for, and that's why they knew that number, because they knew the number of workers. But apparently they don't know how many vehicles were on the bridge at that time. Now, he says the director of communications for the Baltimore Fire Department said the entire bridge collapsed into the Patapsco River. That's a pretty long bridge. I think it's like 1.6 miles long. The only part that we could see was the main truss of it,
right.
which is a huge section, which looks like it might the section we were looking at maybe. Because the main truss 1,200 feet, maybe it was 1,800 feet that we could see in the widescreen picture, the live stream of the bridge. And so there's always a live stream of the bridge, and that's why it was caught. But you can see the massive ship hit the support column, which is, I would say, over the main archway.
Right.
And the whole thing comes down. It looked like, I mean, it's horrific because when you first look at it, as you and I talked about it earlier, it looks like a controlled demolition is what it actually looks like.
Right.
That's how quickly it came down. But you can see, especially now that there's some zoomed-in pictures coming up and videos, you can see clearly that it is a ship. You can see the debris flying once the ship, and it looks like a massive cargo ship, hit the support column.
Yeah, watching a longer video that is a couple of minutes in length, leading up to the moment that this container ship hits the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's just frightening. There is a one big rig that is going on. Again, this is a hazmat route. Hazardous materials have to be rerouted around communities by regulation. And so this is one of those routes in the Baltimore area. And you see at least one big rig cross the bridge. Other cars are crossing the bridge as this container ship gets closer and closer to the bridge. And then ultimately, again, you can see the traffic moving along the bridge as this ship is getting closer and closer, and then ultimately makes contact with the bridge itself. There are flashing lights that appear to be on vehicles that are stationary on the bridge. We don't know if construction was being done on the bridge that is unrelated to this accident, leading up to the moments that the cargo ship made contact with the bridge. But certainly, as you look at this video, multiple vehicles here are on the bridge, as you mentioned, Gary. I was asking off the air if one of those vehicles, because it appeared to be, based on the silhouette, it appeared to be a big rig, and there are reports that at least one big rig was on the bridge when it collapsed in other vehicles. And again, now searching for multiple people in the water, at least 7, according to officials, 7 people in the water after this bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge there in Baltimore, collapsed. This massive container ship, it is being reported on social media that it was flagged out of Singapore. That is, the case with many of these container ships. They're flagged from all over the world as goods are shipped to the U.S. and then from the U.S. Out of the U.S. as well. These container ships are massive. If you've ever seen one up close, they are quite intimidating. I've actually been on the water multiple times. They're in the Gulf of Texas as these container ships come through these shipping lanes. The shipping lanes all over the rest of the United States have kind of increased in activity after the back and forth with the L.A. ports and everything else that happened over the last couple of years, where new routes were reestablished. Some of those bays, or some of those ports rather, opened up and became more, had a lot greater traffic since then, and that includes Savannah, that includes Texas, that includes the Northeast, which I'm assuming would also include the Baltimore area. That's just been the case. There's been a lot of activity. It just seems that the other ports outside of L.A. have increased in activity as those newer trade routes were established, and it is just intimidating when you are fair. When you're on the water, you're not that close, but it seems like it's right there on you. Being on a much smaller vessel a number of times and watching those huge, massive container ships with the containers stacked very, very, very high, as you can imagine, then a great deal of weight, and then, of course, any momentum whatsoever, as this container ship in the video clearly strikes that one main support column, one of the main support columns there on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and then you can see the fire that is on the ship. Then you see that bridge just collapse in pieces fairly quickly. It just goes into the water with, again, multiple vehicles, and we're now told multiple people in the water as they look to rescue them in the water.
Yeah, and I'm watching you're looking at the 6-minute video?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 6-minute video right now, so you can see the cargo ship approaching from quite a long distance, and for a cargo ship in that area, it seems to be moving quite quickly, does it not?
Yeah,
and you can see it heading.
Well, there's a couple of videos, by the way, have been sped up, and you have to look at the notes. They've been sped up to 2 times normal speed, and they're on social media. A few of the videos I've seen, I actually went in the settings and slowed it down by half, so that it was on basically normal speed at that point when I was watching it. But some of the videos that you see are at 2 times the speed, so that may be misleading. I don't know if that is the case with the video you're looking at.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't look. And I'm looking at the cars going across the bridge, because you can see it and you get a better perspective of it. It does seem like, and I would guess, because if you're looking at it and you see to the right side of the major arch, where it seems that they look like almost workman cars that are, you can see the flashing lights,
maybe construction vehicles,
and that's what they
state vehicles,
and that's why they would know that. All right, 7 people are missing in the water because you knew that they were there,
and how many are that they don't know about. When again, if you can see some of the traffic. As I'm looking at the moments leading up to it in the one video, I see
one tractor trailer.
Yeah,
crossing.
there's a tractor trailer following a box truck, a shorter.
Oh, okay. I see that. Yep.
And then so you can see that. And again, I don't know if those 2 trucks are carrying hazmat or not. This is a hazmat route. The Francis Scott Key Bridge, if you're just joining us, there near Baltimore, has collapsed after being hit by a massive container ship. This happening earlier this morning. Officials say they are looking for multiple people in the water. But as we're watching video here, of this, you can see in the moments leading up to the point that the container ship makes contact with one of the main support beams, the Francis Scott Key Bridge. You can see multiple vehicles going over. Now I'm counting multiple big rigs going across this and other vehicles, other stationary vehicles that have sirens, the type or flashing lights that appear to be what would be on maybe a state truck, a highway a department type truck, or a construction type vehicle. They are sitting. They are stationary. They're on the roadway of the bridge, and right in the center of it. We don't know if there was a construction project. It would that's likely an ongoing thing in a bridge that gets this much traffic. So it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. But you can see multiple vehicles of these and some of them just getting across the bridge.
Yeah.
Now we're assuming that these vehicles, as they get out of the line of sight of this of the perspective of this video, basically many of them going from what we're seeing here, and I don't know what direction we're facing in this video, but they're going from right to left across this bridge. And we assume as they get out of sight of the video, the span of the video, and that they have made it across. But this is a 8,300 feet long bridge total.
And when the director of emergency services says the entire bridge collapsed,
yeah,
that would be more than just the main truss.
Right.
Does it seem to you that the cargo ship turns almost right into the support?
I mean, it's hard to tell from this perspective, but it seems to be, that it was, and I don't know, because man, you see this happen, and as it's happening, there is a large splash, basically where the support beam meets the water. So the legs of that support beam in the water, there is this massive splash, and then that's when that cargo ship is making contact with that support beam. Again, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsing this morning.
I don't see when it collapsed. I've just been watching over and over again. Mm-hmm. I don't see, except for what looks like the worker vehicles, I don't see any trucks or cars,
any traffic,
traffic crossing the main truss now. And
it makes you wonder if there was some kind of last second warning where they knew where they were able to shut traffic down because maybe they got word from the captain of this container ship that they were unable to stop in time, and they were able to, or it just by coincidence there, and the fact that it is the middle of the night, maybe that the traffic had just slowed. We have to. I guess we assume that the traffic we did see in the moments leading up to the bridge collapse made it across. We can hope and pray that is the case. But certainly multiple vehicles there that were stationary, parked on the bridge, that appear to be either construction vehicles or maybe State Department, or not State Department, but State Highway Department vehicles are on this bridge. And officials now saying, after the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge there in Baltimore, that multiple people are in the water, at least 7, they say. And you can, but yeah, I did notice that the traffic there was no other, it seemed to be in the moments of that, because the first video that we saw was just basically the moment of impact from the freight ship, and that didn't have traffic going back and forth. It only had the stationary vehicles.
Right.
And so now the longer video, it looks like either by coincidence or maybe there was a last-minute warning, a last-second warning. But either way, there didn't seem to be vehicles moving back and forth on that bridge. If the
entire bridge collapsed, and you're talking about that main section that might be, 4,000 or 5,000 feet long, then it might be a different story.
Could be.
But
Could be.
We'll continue updating you on it. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Roadside inspections all begin with the driver interview, during which the officer will gather basic information from the driver and prepare the driver for the inspection. The officer will also be evaluating the driver, determining if the driver can speak English, is under the influence of anything, has an illness, or is fatigued. The officer will ask the driver for required documents, including vehicle and driver credentials, the driver's log, and shipment paperwork. The officer may also conduct a vehicle inspection. Before beginning the inspection, the officer will take steps to make sure the inspection can be done safely. These include chalking the wheels, wearing personal protective equipment, and explaining what will be required of the driver. The driver needs to pay close attention to these instructions so that the vehicle inspection can be conducted in a manner that is safe for the inspection official. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. A portion of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed after a large ship collided with it early this morning. Multiple vehicles fell into the water. Authorities were trying to rescue at least 7 people. They don't know how many vehicles might have been at the bridge at that time. It's a massive bridge collapse, though. I mean, just massive. It's terrifying to see. If you were just to look at it, I know we've said it a couple of times, but I think it gives you an indication. It would be as almost they were imploding the entire bridge. The other thing that I find interesting, I'm looking at a day picture of the bridge, and the first thing that I noticed was they don't seem to have any type of massive bridge fender, that support. You've seen them on bridges, newer bridges especially, a great big oval, with massive rocks and stones that may go out, a couple of 100 feet, that if a ship hits it, it doesn't hit the major support column.
Right.
And when I'm looking at the 2 columns in a daytime shot of it, and if you're a massive cargo ship, you hit right into the support column. From what I can see, unless this is a picture that was taken years ago and they've updated it since. But I'm looking at the picture from the Associated Press from this morning, so one would think it's a recent picture.
Yeah,
but that's the one thing I was wondering. I said, the great big bridge fenders that you see, and I've seen bridges with it. I'm trying to think of a bridge that has one.
Right.
Does the one in Tampa Bay that got hit, do they have?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't recall.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. As we're talking about the breaking news of Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed after being hit by a large boat. A huge section of it did. The main truss all came down. I know, you and I were talking about that the director of emergency management said the whole bridge is down. I just saw a picture, Baltimore Sun has it, with the major truss, which might be, I don't know if might be what, 1,500 feet?
I think they said it's 1,200, I think.
1,200, but then it goes a little bit beyond it. So,
right,
where the truss actually is.
I saw someone say roughly 16.
Okay.
Beyond that, I don't know if that's accurate.
But you can see in the picture that from the New York Sun, from the Baltimore Sun, that the portion after the truss that's held up by another support column seems to be intact.
Right.
And you and I, and the reason we brought it up is you and I watched the 6-minute video that shows about 5 minutes before it was hit, and you can see the cargo ship approaching, and we were watching the cars. You can see the worker trucks and the flashing lights up there, and that's why we believe they say there's 7 people they believe in the water. That might be and they were talking about they were looking for workers. Mm-hmm. That might be the case there. Those were the cars that you could see at the time that it was hit. You and I did not see any headlights crossing the bridge,
right? No,
or that major truss,
right,
of the bridge.
I'm watching a YouTube. There's a live stream of the Port of Baltimore. I don't know if it's the Port Authority that operates this live stream. That's, by the way, been the source of the video that is circulating. Most of the video that is circulating on social media this morning. And thanks to Ed and other listeners that sent me this live stream, which you can, on live streams, you can rewind back to, some of them you can rewind 12 hours. So I decided to go back and look at other container ships that had been, other traffic and container ship in the hours before this happened. Again, the Francis Scott Key Bridge near Baltimore, in Baltimore, has collapsed after a container ship hit one of the main support columns of that bridge. They are looking for several people in the water. But going back and rewinding this live stream, you can see, and I was curious about how the traffic worked on these freight ships. These huge container ships, at least one that I've gone back and looked at during the break there, went under the very center of the truss where that arch is over the bridge. It appears to the captain it appears is aiming right under the center so that they have plenty of clearance and they go under that bridge. What was interesting about this container ship that hit this column, we don't know why, but it appears to take a turn there in the moments leading up to it, and which would be completely off course, and I mean completely off course as it goes. And you mentioned this, you noticed that it seemed to be turning, and it was
stern was moving.
Yeah,
to the
you could see the
swinging
around, and the bow comes then, and it appears, and it did eventually went head on with one of those two main support. There are two main support columns in the center of the bridge and under the truss, and it hits one of those. In the video, you'll see the one on the left. It makes contact with. There's a large splash just before contact, and then it hits the contact, and then the bridge starts to collapse and comes down on the container ship itself. Clearly hitting the bow. There's some fire you can see. It appears that the much of the container ship itself goes dark, and the bridge is at the same time collapsing into the water.
You can see here a picture right there of the truss on top of the front of the ship.
Right. Yeah.
As you can see it right there.
Right.
And thanks to Andrew for sending me these pictures that he found.
Yeah.
Now, and I guess the point is, when you look at that middle span, even though this was a massive cargo ship, it wasn't like a very tight fit.
Right.
It doesn't seem that it would have been a tight fit, like, okay, you're just off 10 feet here or there, or even 50 feet here or there.
You have to thread. It didn't
right.
look
You're
like
not threading the needle
right. kind of situation. It looked like plenty of room. It's it sometimes can be tricky when you're looking at these videos, because these are very large container ships. This one that hit the support beam and ultimately caused the collapse of again, if you're just joining us, breaking news this morning, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore has collapsed after a container ship hit it. But these container ships are massive. They're very intimidating if you've been up close to one. And so, but it can be a little deceiving when you're looking at the video. But there is even still, as you point out, there is plenty of room between those two main support columns for this cargo ship to pass between. And that's why I was curious, and I wanted to go back in the hours on this live stream on YouTube and see just what the traffic looks like in terms of the container ships that navigate underneath what was the Francis Scott Key Bridge there in Baltimore, because I wanted to see what kind of maneuvering it required. They're moving at a pretty good click. They're moving fairly quickly, these container ships. But at least one previous cargo ship had no concern at all, no problem at all in passing under the bridge. And I'm going back now roughly 4 hours on this live stream. Again, a live stream from the Port of Baltimore. And it is just, again, just seems like business as usual as another container ship. Now, the previous container ship did not appear to be as large, but I was, again, wanting to look at the navigation and see, all right, how tricky is this? And there is, as you point out, plenty of room. The question would be, why did this container ship that ultimately hit and caused the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge there in Baltimore, why did it veer off course in the last moments leading up to that collapse, that contact with that one of the main pillars, the support beam there under that bridge? It's hard to know. It's impossible to know just yet, but it does appear it is clearly off course and takes a turn, and then ultimately it goes. It looks to be head on with that support beam.
Just reading here from CNN. Very significant crash raises many questions. Of course, I mean, some of the questions we're asking how, and it's tough when you don't have any information to even speculate on it. The collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge after it was struck by a large ship is a very significant crash. Will raise many questions, said CNN correspondent Gabe Cohen. This is a very important bridge. This is along 630 or 695, and the videos that are emerging are surreal. To see this container ship collide with the bridge, and very quickly that bridge crumbles into several pieces down into the water, which it is. I mean, it's very disturbing when you see it because of how quickly, as I said, I know we've repeated a couple of times, but you're trying to give an impression for people that are just listening to the radio. It's almost as if the ship wasn't there, if you couldn't see the ship and you see it hit and you can see the debris flying once it hits, but it crumbles as if it was a controlled demolition.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's how it comes down.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it is extremely, extremely frightening. Kevin Cartwright, Director of Communications for the Baltimore Fire Department, told the Associated Press the bridge collapse was a developing mass casualty event. So looking at the bridge from another side, I know that I can't because I don't know what side they took the picture from, but the whole main truss is down. That's gone. You basically have the bridge support for the main archway, if you want to call it, of the truss. That part came down, and then the two sections from the middle support columns also came down. Now, those columns outside of those were up, and it looked like on one side that the roadway was still there. I don't know if I have seen both sides of it yet, based on the fact that I don't know where the camera angles are coming from in some of the photos.
Right, yeah, but it appears to be the case, again, looking at after the collapse, the video from the live stream Port of Baltimore here on YouTube. It does appear to be the case.
Now it does. I realize now this is the angle because that's it right there, and we know when you look at it from the live feed that the left side that part of the roadway once you get past the truss the entire truss, not just the one over the major archway, but the entire truss, that it looks like both of those columns are up, and it looks like on both sides the roadway is up.
Yeah.
Or the roadway is intact. Now, don't know if there were any holes that were created in the roadway. Those are things we don't know at that point.
Yeah.
So we know that what they're worried about is that rescue crews reportedly searching for 7 people. And we believe that those may be the vehicles that were worker vehicles, because we know they're looking for workers. And those were the ones that you and I looked at in that long video beforehand that seemed to be stationary, and you could see the warning lights on them blinking.
Yeah, I'm going back now the 5 hours, which would be a couple of hours before the bridge collapse, and on the Port of Baltimore live cam stream there on YouTube, and it appears that those vehicles were there for quite some time. Again, they were parked on the bridge.
The picture looking at, was it still light then? You could see it.
What I'm looking at right now, no.
Okay.
But there, you can go back that far. Let's see if we can get. There is, okay. Yeah, we can go back more than 9 hours now on this live cam, and you can see. Well, it's okay. So there's a different perspective. So they've turned the camera in different directions at different times, and so it appears that it was fixed on the bridge. Probably whoever's operating the camera overnight just fixes it on the bridge, because that's going to be pretty much all you could see in the dark. There are quite often individuals that are operating these live cam streams.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so if when they for it to be turnkey, they will probably set it on the bridge itself for overnight hours, and then there is some activity. Man, going back now 5 hours, almost 6 hours in this live stream, there's another container ship coming under this bridge, and this is a matter of, it appears to be threading the needle on this, because it looks like, and there's probably a 20-30 foot clearance from the very top of the container ship to the bottom of the bridge, but it looks like, again, and it can be deceiving, that it's a pretty tight fit, in terms of the clearance.
The clearance
of the bridge.
But it doesn't
between
seem,
the columns, though,
yeah, it seems,
as you mentioned, it doesn't seem to be the case.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. An update here from the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore. CNN reporting that they're facing a mass casualty multi-agency incident with response teams working to rescue around 20 people now who may have fallen into the river when the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. We were told earlier they were looking for 7.
Mm-hmm. And there is a report that says there were no injuries on the container ship itself. You'd be surprised at how few people are actually on those container ships. as large as they are, but we'll be following this story again throughout the morning.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.